So hello and welcome back to this another Star Nord card check up of Kamigawa and Dynasty. So while I'm enjoying this cup of coffee for this morning, I decided to just proceed on discussing the best cards for the red color in Magic, of course. And as we look uh, at the current setup, I think it's mostly going to be leaned more for the aggro deck and maybe having a bit for mid range and control. But since we know that Mono-Red is mostly the preferred deck whenever a new set comes out, so we're going to check on some of the best cards that we can utilize for this archetype. But we're going to start with this time is a big mythic, the explosive Singularity. This is a 10 to cast sorcery wherein it can get 1 mana cost less for each creature that you will tap in addition to its as you cast the spell, and it can deal damage 10 damage to any target. So the good thing about this archetype is you can go with the Boros token, so maybe you can have Naya if it's possible, and maybe Gold Ramp, since the mana cost would likely need you to have more lands early on, so you can get to play the spell as early as possible. So nothing in particular in this, except that it is sort of a finisher for a big red, or just plainly kill off your opponent for 10 damage. So next up, Reinforce Ronin. It is a 1 to cast 2/2 artifact creature, Human Samurai. So it just reminds me of Zorgo. It goes with a 2/2 haste, and it's your end step, you turn it to its owner's hand, and you can later on channel it to cycle for a card. So possible deck archetypes are Boros vehicles, no? And also Mono-Red, since it goes with a curve of 1 mana cost, and if ever you have triggered abilities whenever you cast an artifact spell, then this is a good source for that, as it can return to your end step, which you can later on discuss it again, even if you won't just need to have it attacking. And next up, Invoke Calamity. This is a 5 to cast instant, casting 2 instant or sorcery spells with total mana value 6 or less from your graveyard or hand without paying this mana cost. Then you get to exile them and also exile this card. Its possible archetypes are Izzet, Tempo, and Mono Big Red. What I mean is the common traditional Big Red deck with Planeswalker and artifacts or stones that can make it ramp. But I think the best setup for this is the Tempo for Izzet, since it is already an existing archetype, and this is a pseudo upgrade for that build. But if you're not really relying on your spells, then you can just plainly add 1 or 2 copies of this in the main for late game utilization. Then we have Thundering Raiju. This is a 4 to cast 3/3 haste wherein it will trigger modified creatures by adding counters on them and also dealing X damage to its opponent for each modified creatures you control, other than him, of course. And possible archetypes for this is Boros Modified and Gold Auras. What I mean is, if saw a similar deck list for this build, or you can just plainly go with Mono-Red, but since having access to white or having 2 colors gives you more option for having various setup for modified creatures. And as for the grow auras, then you can also have those aura spells from Kaldheim. I think there are a few there that those to enchant also equipments, and this is probably your option for an alpha strike if ever you get to curb uh, on your early turns and having them to modify. So if you have seen my previous video on the Boros vehicles deck or the Boros modified deck, you can just check it on my Magic the Gathering playlist. So next up, also for Boros modified decks, the Lizard Blades and Rapid Battery. I'm also seeing this in Mono-Red setup, no? Or basically chipping off early damage and then later on just reconfigure it to your best threats to make them haste and also get them Basbasan. This one also a good source to alpha strike your opponent. Then if ever that you get to reconfigure it to your best creature, and at the same time you can just have if you have multiple copies of it, then just early on you just cast them as a 2-drop, and if you have sort of pump spells, then this is also a good target for it to deal a huge chunk of damage to your opponent. So I think these two are the basic uh, modified components in the deck, not only for a Boros version, but maybe if you get to Black Red or maybe Gurul version. These are, I think, the staple add-ons for that list. And then we have Goro Disciple Say. This is a also another modified creature benefit wherein you get your creatures haste, but also having the option to create a 5/5 Dragon Spirit. And if you are having to attack with a modified creature to trigger this ability. So maybe in modified or in Mono-Red versions, you can just have to at least 2 copies of this, as early on it's not that efficient, but given that if you draw this late game and you get enough mana to activate this ability, then you can just basically cast this and then attack with your modified creature and then create your Dragon Spirit creature token. So next, this is the only saga. I think this is the only saga I've included in this list. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. This is expensive Ragavan creature, sort of, because of having a token that can trigger in creating treasure tokens whenever it attacks. And then later on, you can get this reflection, Kiki, wherein you just activate one to create a token that's a copy of another target legendary creature and having it haste and sacrificing it in the next end step. So Gruul, if there's a build for this Gruul Enchantress, just let me know. If you have a list to share, and maybe for Doctor Sacrifice, since you can create tokens that can be used as a sacrificial fodder to your other creatures that needs these kind of effects. And this might be a setup deck over instance, but I think this is a good option to include, since because of its being interactive, and if you get to activate it in the late game, or you can get to exile it for its creature form, then it may become a good option in giving you copies of your best non-legendary creatures. So I think this is the wrap. I think we have still one more. choose the blazing sky, given a 4 drop for flying trample, maybe as previously added in a preview deck, no? In a batch of Kamigawa previews. This is suited for gold mid-range Mono-Red, of course because of its evasion and trample, but its dive option may get the benefit for Mono-Red, as it might at times require you to discuss them less, or if you'd go with the mid-range, then just create these treasure tokens so that you can get to ramp to your best card or threat later on as a follow-up for this. But in its own, it's also already a good attacker, since having 4/4 flying trample is it's also a good already a good benefit for it. So that's a wrap for this how to make a film. That's a wrap for this mini setup for Mono-Red standard, and thank you for watching, and I hope you can get for more deck text on the next videos of this, and thank you.